Restuyo. Hello everyone, this is Ase. That's my Japanese nickname. I am here with one of the Mahagurus, one of my mentors, supporters, colleagues, good friends, and probably one of the two, according to someone I know, one of the two prominent expert of Mahaguru in Japanese studies. Yeah.
No.
Ngunjuk.
There
So we're just doing ngobrol-ngobrol. So we're going to use gadu-gadu, bahasa gadu-gadu. Yeah.
So I've been messing around recently with another translation. I can't resist translating little things. And I went right back to an article, a paper that I wrote, which was included in a bundle, a volume, for Professor Teu, right back in 1986, I believe.
1986.
86.
Yeah.
It was published by the KTLV. With a very nice photo of Teu in the front.
Right.
The best one, I think.
I think I've seen it.
Sometime I can show it to you if you'd like to see it again.
Yeah.
So, various colleagues contributed papers for this celebration.
Yeah.
I think it was his retirement, actually.
Right. Okay.
And I chose a little Javanese novel. I may have mentioned it to you before, called Suwarsa Warsia.
Yes.
This was written by a certain Sastro Diharjo and published in 1926 in the Balai Pustaka series. So it's a typical little Javanese novel, only 57 pages.
Yes. Very short.
Quite short, yeah.
Follows
And
standard.
fits into that period when so it's not traditional Javanese literature, obviously, but that transition into the modern literature.
Yeah, more like day-to-day
Yes,
kind of.
absolutely, a lot of that.
Yeah.
But still very heavily influenced by Javanese culture as it existed in that time.
Right.
Well, what time? That is a good question.
Yes.
Because there's a date mentioned in several letters in the story
Right.
of Javanese year, 1825,
Okay.
which converts to 1895
Right.
AD. So presumably the author is depicting Java as it was at that time, or perhaps closer to the time of publication.
Yeah.
You can't be quite sure.
Okay.
But it's set in the Mangkunegaran
Right.
and the various villages outside there under the control of the Mangkunegaran, and traces the career of this boy,
Right.
Suwarso,
So.
and how he made a career as a clerk in an office in Solo, and how he got the beautiful girl Warsia.
Right. Okay.
Is a happy ending.
Right. Clark is what is it called? AO, yeah? Administrator's office?
Well,
Clark, or it's bigger than that?
It's called just a Juruserat
A Juruserat, yeah.
with the rank of Rongo
Right.
in an office there.
So quite respectable.
Well, his father was a respectable chap,
Right.
but his mother was a Desa girl,
Okay.
Warsiam.
Right.
So he had a lot to work up. With that background, you need to.
Yes. Yeah,
So
upgrade.
this story makes a lot of use of Javanese kinship terms, because we have to tell how this family fitted together.
Yeah.
And
Literally.
he was adopted, and then
He was adopted.
by an uncle,
Okay.
and that's how he made his way.
Right,
Got an education.
That's
Otherwise, nothing.
that's very Japanese though. If your parents are not that respectable, then the parents will try to,
And the
have
father married
the
a
children
second
adopted.
time
Okay.
with a very snobbish woman
Right.
from Solon.
Okay.
Who,
Well, yeah.
So he was rejected.
Solo and snobbish,
And
they go together.
Had to make his way in the world.
Right.
There's some lovely little pictures of village life.
How did he meet the love of his life?
Well, he was walking through the sawah.
Right.
There she was, along like that. He thought, wow.
Gadis desa, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah, all right, okay.
But respectable, of course.
Yes, yeah. And then she accepted his...
Well, all this had to be engineered.
Yeah, yes, those days.
He would not be accepted by her father unless he had connections.
A baking,
Several connections, in fact.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is a very Javanese theme, I think,
Yes.
called what I call social engineering.
That's right. Yes, I know what you mean when you talk about it depends when it was written and maybe either it depicted the actual cultural element in it or close to the publication. So there's that historical homebook in there.
It seems authentic to me.
Okay.
So
right. Do you like it?
Years ago I made an attempt at translating it and got a bit stuck.
Right.
And then I had another go at it after that.
Is it written in Javanese script?
No, no.
It's modern Javanese.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
And
we'll do it.
so I got about halfway, and then I picked it up again the other. I thought, okay, just do it.
Yeah.
It's not for any particular purpose.
Yeah.
Not for any. No one's asking for it. Just do it.
Yeah.
So the narrative parts are pretty straightforward, as you can imagine. But when they start talking to each other,
very natural.
Especially these idiomatic phrases.
Yes.
Oh, do.
Yeah. But doesn't that bring you to like real life? Like we had experience living in this beautiful part of Java. You heard people using that language.
Totally.
There's a lot of feeling in the words that they use and the nature, etc.
Yeah.
You're the right person to do it.
So I've got about 15 pages to go.
Wow.
And just coming up to the marriage,
yeah,
there's going to be a big ruction
yes,
when one part of the family, the Radanayu, discovers that her son is not the one being married, but Subaso is the one.
So
scandal.
Wow. Okay.
So,
looks like soap opera.
Oh.
Okay. What's the ending? Spoiler alert.
Well, it's all settled in the end, and he makes a good career.
Yeah.
And he and Wasia
as they do. It's Japanese after all.
2 little boys.
Right.
I'm so happy they had a good ending.
Happy ending.
Yeah, I insist on a happy ending.
Let's publish it. I can make it happen.
So I would need some help, I think.
Yes.
With some little bits in the dialogues.
Yep. Yeah.
You would need to check.
Yes.
I wouldn't want to make any silly mistakes after all.
And then we approach publisher.
But would it need to be accompanied by the text for the benefit?
Actual.
Yes, the actual text retyped in the modern spelling for the benefit of students or other scholars who may want to say, "Oh, how did you get this?
Yeah.
What's the original?"
Yeah. Yeah.
Only 57 pages.
That's an excellent question.
Doable.
But I think we should speak to professional. I mean, those who in the business of publishing will be able to advise us. So we can have a say on this thing. But number one, priority will be to get it out there because it's very important work. And this is the time when we need to be, creative. But also, if there is something that we can bring about for anybody who's interested in Javanese, we should do it. I'll find out for you.
As background to this,
yes,
I think we need to consult Quinn's The Javanese Novel.
Yes, of course.
Because that gives you the whole context for the rise of this literature in the early 20th century.
And that's one of his research.
Yes,
absolutely. Have you mentioned it to him?
No.
Yeah, I had a little chat with him about his recent project. One of them is actually collecting short stories in Javanese.
Wow, that's good.
I have a little homework. He gives me a little homework to do, but that's his area. So I think it's worth talking to him. An excellent project.
I remember years ago I looked at his book and went into the index to try to find Sastradi Haja. Wasn't there. So I was not mentioned. So why? I checked the Monash catalogue. It is held here.
Yeah. Yes, I have the copy. I'll find it for you. I've already took it out and then I put it back again. Yes. Yes.
Is it around here somewhere?
Yeah.
It has a white back.
Yes, white cover. It's very straightforward and it's quite thick. Wasn't it his thesis?
It was originally, definitely.
Yeah.
And then later published.
Yeah. I wanna start the beginning. Tell me the beginning of your foray in Javanese studies and culture. Let's talk about personal thing. What attracted you? How did it start? Tell us.
Long story.
Okay. Well, there must be a beginning.
Well, I'll just wind the tape back to the University of Sydney.
Yes.
About 1959.
Right.
When I was enrolled in a BA in Faculty of Arts.
Yeah.
And
anybody we know who's in your
Yes.
So there's Peter.
Yes.
Worsley.
I wasn't able to take Indonesian and Malayan studies as a first year subject because it was a second year subject.
Right.
Similarly, anthropology was as well. Those are the ones that I wanted to take. So in my first year I took Japanese. I took it for 3 years actually.
Right.
And was doing 2 Asian languages alongside each other.
Yeah. And you were enjoying it, right?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
But Japanese, a very small number of students. That was my first love actually.
Right.
Because there was a nice girl living in Roseville.
There's always,
That's called motivation.
It's very important, right? Okay.
Actually, it is.
Yeah.
That's not silly. So that didn't lead to anything much.
Yeah.
So I took Indonesian, which was chaotic.
Right.
It was headed by a certain Dr. Vanasan.
Okay.
Case Vanasan.
It wasn't very well organized.
It was awful.
Okay.
It was absolute.
Right. Yeah, didn't enjoy it. Right.
So we learned almost no Indonesian.
Right.
But as part of the honours stream, he gave some Javanese.
Right.
So I wanted to try that. And 4 of us were in the honours year that year.
Right. You.
Myself, Peter Worsley, Harry Aveling, and a certain George Miller.
George Miller. Okay.
Who became a librarian in Canberra.
Right. Okay. The 4 of you. Okay.
I was a little bit late that year for some reason or other. I came in late. And I looked at this group. I thought, what a bunch of crims.
That Sydney-sided talk, isn't it?
Yeah.
So that's how the beginning.
Yeah. And so Dr. Vanasan, he was doctor then, not professor.
Right.
Introduced us to some Javanese. And for modern Javanese, what he began with was Layang Damarulan.
Okay. Oh, beautiful story.
In Ngoko,
yes.
In prose.
Right.
And it is rather nice, especially at the beginning. It's a bit boring towards the end.
Yeah.
It says, Iki charitane nagoro ing matyopai. Naliko pantanangane prabukunyo. And so on and so on.
There's the journey and romance and...
Yeah. Lovely.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so
some old Javanese as well. Just a bit out of Adi Parwa. Why does everyone have to begin with that? It's not very interesting, really.
Okay. All right.
So that's how that started.
So that's the honours. And yes, and you did honours at Sydney University.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And
I wrote a little thesis called History and Legend of the Foundation of Majapahit.
Okay.
Good first class.
Why choosing that one? So is that the expansion of your love of anything Javanese? Or?
Vanasan, even though his English was limited,
right,
he kept breaking into Dutch because
Okay.
he was in Indo
Okay.
from Klaten.
Blasteran.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
Very
Okay.
much so.
Mm-hmm.
So if he couldn't think of a word,
Yeah.
he'd say, "How say you that, Ria? Ria?"
Oh wow. Okay.
And then the Dutch girl would have to chime in.
But you were acquiring Dutch already, so English.
We did do some
Japanese?
Dutch with Russell Jones.
Okay.
That was one of his jobs.
Right. Where did you get your talent of languages? Do you know?
Well,
when you were young.
My grandfather,
Yes.
Owen Robson, was a military officer.
Right.
And when he was stationed at Duntroon, near Canberra, as an instructor in military engineering,
right,
in those days,
very clever man.
They thought that Japan was going to be a rising power in the Pacific,
right,
and they ought to have some officers who knew Japanese.
Okay.
So they brought in a Japanese tutor, Mr. Roku Okada, and he started taking Oriental Studies in 1918. There's dates in the front of his books.
Wow.
So that's when he started.
Okay, this is your father.
And my grandfather.
Oh, grandfather.
Yeah. And
so that's where you got.
He did quite well. You can see his Japanese writing in some of the notebooks.
Right.
Beautifully written kanji.
Okay. Yeah, it was very rare those days.
Extremely
for
rare.
Young
Extremely
Australian to learn language other than English.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay. See, so we work it out. That's where you got your.
I think so.
Languages.
Yes.
Okay. So back to Sydney.
Oh,
so you did your honours.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you enjoy writing the honours thesis?
I wanted to go straight on and do a PhD.
Yeah.
And so Van Aarsen said, all right, we'll give you a kakawin to do.
Kakawin?
Yes.
So it was decided for you?
Well, I had to take his advice. So we got the microfilms sent out from Leiden, and I sat behind a machine with a black cloth over my head, sweating in there, copying this out from Hafondatuk's handwriting.
It's like a black and white movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh God.
And then this when the plot thickens.
Yes. Dang. Because you were told to.
Well, I didn't have the sense to realise I did not know nearly enough Old Javanese to be at editing and translating Old Javanese. That was pure fantasy. But I didn't know that at the time.
Yeah.
So in 1963, on Hari Kemerdekaan, I got married. Very young. With Rosemary.
Rosemary.
Yes. Yeah. And we decided to visit Indonesia and went up to Jakarta in December 1963. But she was already having problems with her stomach.
Yeah.
And we were taken to the home of an Indonesian student by the name of Haryono. There was a group of them on, what do you call it, Colombo plan.
Yeah.
Learning English. English. University of Sydney. And we made very good friends with them. Another one was Sumaryono, who I think is still alive in Sydney. So.
Oh, there's Pak Sumaryono.
Yes, same group.
That Bapak, wow.
Same group.
Okay, right.
And so we had to make our way from Jakarta, which was an awful shock for the boy from the suburbs of Sydney seeing this mess. Yeah. Not just the heat and the noise, but the chaos.
Everything.
Truckloads of soldiers going backwards and forwards in the streets. We stayed in the...
You were newlywed.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh.
And we stayed in the guest house Dewan Gereja in Jalan Tuku Umar 17. And then Mas Yono found us a way to get into Central Java. He said, you can't go by train. We got a thing called a suburban.
Okay.
That's what it was called those days, a little bus.
That's right. Yeah.
And went by road up through Bandung, down to Cirebon, all the way along to Semarang, where the driver refused to go any further.
Yeah, too much.
He said, we've paid to get to Montilan.
No. Oh.
So he had to be bribed to do a bit more.
Okay. This was your first trip?
Absolutely, first trip.
For Rosemary's, right?
Yes,
okay.
yes. Oh. And there was nowhere to stay in Jogja. No one would give us a room. So we stayed in the house in Muntilan.
Right.
It's the house of the ex-Lurah. Mas Yona was the son of the Lurah.
Right.
And went down to Jogja by bus. And
so that was to do your PhD research.
well, that was the idea. We're going to do some old Javanese with Romosut.
Because he was
But it turned
stationed
out, when I got down to UGM,
yeah.
he said, "Oh, he's not here. He's in Germany."
To
I
do
said,
what?
"What? Yeah, he's attending something or other."
Right.
Not there.
Mm.
Bingong.
Mm.
Because Van Nasen forgot to write a letter ahead and say, "Will you be there?"
Okay. Right. No email, no WhatsApp, no text. Took months.
There I met Supomo.
Okay, of course. The lovely Supomo.
In those days, the Faculty Sastra was in a little courtyard.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't think of the name of it now. Just north of the
belong to Kraton, right?
Alun-Alun Lor.
Yeah.
Just up there.
Yeah. Okay.
It'll come to me in a minute.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So then what happened? Because
so
it was
I
in
said,
Germany. Yeah.
I said, "Oh, why? What are you doing here?" So I said, "Oh, well, some old Javanese. I wanted to start on an edition, translation." He said, "Oh, that's interesting. I am too."
Who was that again?
Supomo.
But Supomo, of course, yeah.
So I said, "That's what a coincidence. Wow. What are you doing?" He said, "Ajana Vijaya." Same bloody text.
Oh, cool.
He said, "Oh yes, I've nearly finished." So that was
that's the end of your.
That was not the final Kagagalan, unfortunately.
Yeah. Right.
Then Rosemary got very ill.
Yeah.
And the doctor in Muntilan advised you have to have an immediate operation because it's appendix. It may burst at any time.
Oh, it could kill her.
So, what do you do? We went to Pandirapi.
Right.
She was operated on by Professor Suleiman, and then got sicker and sicker.
Yeah.
So the family in Muntilan advised us, "I think it's better for you to get her out fast."
Her from the country.
So we had to try to book it down to Jakarta, out to Singapore first, and then to Sydney.
Right.
And she was in hospital for weeks and weeks and weeks with peritonitis, which upset her inside.
That's terrible.
That was a disaster. However, on the positive side, we got to know that family.
Yeah.
And we got to know what it looks like in the Javanese countryside.
Yeah.
Which is absolute revelation.
So blazing.
So lovely.
Good. Yeah.
I even climbed to the top of a little hill called Gunung Pring.
Oh my God. That's beautiful.
Yes, that is really nice.
Yeah.
So that was the first experience of Indonesia.
Yeah.
And that stayed with me for many years.
And did you guys get out at the end because of Rosemary?
Yes.
Yeah.
After 3 months, we were out, back to Sydney.
Back to Sydney. Yeah.
So by that time, I thought, "Oh, Javanese, you idiot. You just don't know enough." So Russell Jones stood up and said, well, Van Nasen had gone away again, by the way. So I couldn't take responsibility. So Russell said, "I think you should try some different..." Russell Jones.
Russell Jones. Who's Russell Jones again?
Well, he was a lecturer in Malay.
Okay. Sydney
University.
Right.
He'd come in after
Yeah.
Tony Hill was killed in a plane crash in Bandung.
Okay.
So he was a competent man, a young man
Jones,
who won't go into that now. And he said, "You should do Malay." I said, "Okay." So we got a photocopy of a manuscript from the Leiden collection, of course, and I edited that and made an English translation of it. Downgraded from PhD to MA, and it worked out quite well.
Yeah. And what's the topic again?
The name of the text is Hikayat Andakan Penurat.
Hikayat
Andakan
Penurat.
Yeah.
Hikayat Andakan Penurat.
A nice little story.
Yeah.
Connected with Panji stories.
Okay.
Connected with.
Yeah.
And later on,
Andakan Penurat.
that was published in Leiden.
Yeah. That's your master. Mm-hmm.
But the examination of that took a long time.
Okay.
So in the meantime, I had no job.
Mm-hmm.
Rosemary
was still sick?
She gradually got better. We had a block of land in a suburb called French's Forest. I rather loved that bit of land. It had bush on it even.
Yeah, in New South Wales.
Just in the northeast of Sydney. But Rosemary said she didn't like it.
So sold it.
So it was sold. And still no job. I'd been kidding myself again. But being able to build a house, no job, no money. How mad can you get?
Yeah.
And so Van Assen said, I know, you got Leiden. You study Leiden now.
Right.
How? I get you scholarship. And so an application was put in at the Dutch consulate in Sydney. And Van Assen said,
why Dutch consulate?
Because Dutch government money.
Okay. So they're the one who give you the scholarship.
Yes, Dutch government scholarship for Australian students.
So who advised you again to do that?
Van Assen.
Van Assen is?
He was the head of department.
Head of department, Sydney University.
Indonesian department.
Van Assen sounds Dutch.
Yeah. Well, mixed, you see.
Okay. Yeah.
Indo.
Right. So then you got the scholarship?
No.
No? Okay.
So hoping to get the scholarship, we were encouraged to make a booking.
Right.
By ship, of course.
Wow.
Best way to travel, only way to travel, especially if you wanted to take a lot of things with you. And we've had a look at the ship, a German cargo ship, when it was in Sydney.
Right.
For 12 passengers.
Right. Very small.
Oh, a very pretty ship, very nice ship.
Yeah.
But we were told it could only get on in
well
Melbourne.
Built. Okay.
Because they were taking on more cargo in Melbourne.
Right.
So to take the train to Melbourne.
Yeah.
Stayed with my aunt for a while and then got on.
You had aunt living in Melbourne?
I did have an aunt at that time. Yes.
From your mum or dad?
My mother's side.
Okay.
And we sailed on that ship, the Münsterland, Captain Schüttler.
Right.
And ran into a storm right outside Port Phillip.
Right. Wow.
I was a very bad sailor.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, felt so awful.
Okay.
Went around to Adelaide.
So the two of
take
you,
on
you
more,
and Rosemary. Yeah.
Yes, more cargo there.
Right.
And then they opened the portholes up. They were loading bales of sheepskins. The blowflies found out about it.
Okay.
Oh dear, the smell. And then sailed again, all right over direct over the Indian Ocean. No more stops to Aden, which, as you know, is on the southeast corner of Yemen. And there was a pilot strike there, so we had to stand off in the sea for a while.
For how long? Do you remember?
About a week.
Okay. Wow.
Then finally we got onto land, and the mail was brought on board.
Right.
A letter for me.
Oh gosh.
You've got the scholarship.
Oh wow.
Got all that way. Still a gamble. Just a gamble.
Oh my God. Well, you were in the middle of the ocean.
In Aden.
In Aden.
Yeah.
Wow.
Then the ship sailed
This is awful.
up the Red Sea. The
Right.
Red Sea is not red, by the way.
No.
It's a deep blue.
Okay.
Beautiful deep blue.
Why is it called red anyway?
No idea.
That's very communist. Okay.
Up to Egypt.
So then, yep.
Had a look around Egypt for a couple of days. Saw the pyramids.
Okay.
And straight on across the Mediterranean.
Yeah. What year was that again?
That was 1965.
1965.
Yes, 65.
And been born.
August.
Okay.
And called at Genoa,
Yeah.
Marseille, then right around Spain,
Wow.
over the Bay of Biscay.
Excellent
And
memory.
then we had to get off at the first port in Europe, which happened to be Antwerp.
Oh wow.
Not where I wanted to go at all.
No? I thought that's one of the most beautiful places on earth. Is that right?
Antwerp?
Yes? No. Okay.
Maybe not.
No. Some people think so.
But it's a port.
Yeah.
In,
Okay. It's
in Belgium.
Right. Belgium.
We wanted to go to Leiden in Holland.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So you stopped there for how long?
We had to get off there.
Yeah.
They said, off, all your stuff, off.
Oh gosh.
And then I was just sitting in the saloon on the ship. Through the door came P.T. Worsley.
Oh my God.
He says, "How you going, you old bugger?"
What was he doing?
He knew we were arriving.
Okay.
And he drove his little car.
Right. Peter was based in?
He was living in The Hague.
Okay.
He had
to
left,
do what?
He and Louise had left a year earlier.
Okay.
Also on a scholarship.
Right.
To go to Leiden University.
To do PhD?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
And so...
Met in heaven.
Loaded the bags into his little car.
Wonderful.
And he drove us up into Holland. And eventually we stayed in the same house as them.
Right.
But that's another story.
Yeah.
I remember driving up the Haagweg into Leiden from the south for the very first time, thinking, well, these are the stones where all those scholarly footsteps have gone.
Yeah.
It's like...
Your own car?
Just Peter's car.
Peter's car, okay.
You know, a bit like Mecca.
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Pilgrimage to...
The Mecca of the
and so
scholars.
I made my way directly to go and meet Professor Teu and report that I'd arrived to do a PhD, please.
Right.
On a little scholarship.
So everything was paid
and
by
so
the government.
He said, "Oh, really? How would you do that?" I said, "Well, I've been studying in University of Sydney and I've got a BA there and so sorry," he said.
It was tough, right?
Only possible if you do the same course that the Dutch students do. Wow. Have you done Sanskrit and Arabic?
Oh, wow. Sanskrit and Arabic. Wow.
Oh, he said, that's very difficult.
That's what he said.
Yes, that's difficult. So we looked up the regulations. In those days, to do Indonesian studies, first of all, you had to do what they call a kandidats in Sanskrit, Arabic, cultural history of India, and history of Islam, I think it was.
That's amazing. Those
for 3
are really
years.
good.
For 3 years.
3 years.
And
so Arabic, what else?
No, Arabic later. Sanskrit. Arabic.
The
cultural history of India.
Yeah, and Islam.
Institutions of Islam. That's what it was called.
Wow, that sounds really good.
So, I said, "Why?"
3 years.
I don't think I can manage that. He said, "Well, we won't enroll you in Indonesian language and literature. We enroll you in Aryan language and literature. That's the Indian way.
Okay.
Then you can do Sanskrit but no Arabic." I said, "Well, that's a bit better."
Yeah.
And so, all right, I diligently enrolled in Sanskrit, did 2 years of Sanskrit before starting on Indonesian studies.
How did you find it? Good?
Sanskrit,
talent already.
Very difficult.
Yeah.
But I never regretted it. It was a great asset.
Yeah. What's the secret of learning Sanskrit? Just by doing it again and again and again.
Just memorizing the word forms after it.
Yeah.
Again and again and again.
But it sounds beautiful, right? The words.
Yes, some do, yes.
It helps. Some languages sound very rough and dry, but not Sanskrit.
I think you're right.
Yeah. Okay.
But just to complete that chapter, I was allowed to start on Indonesian studies at the same time, double up, merangkap.
Right.
And was sitting with Professor Berg, C.C. Berg, famous scholar and professor of Javanese.
C.C. Berg. How do you spell it?
Berg.
B-E-R-G.
Berg.
Okay.
And he said, "I'm very happy to have you here. And by the way, why are you doing this? Why are you doing Sanskrit?"
That's what he said.
I said, "Well, I was told I had to." "No," he said, "you've just got an MA from Sydney, haven't you? Actually, you can ask for exemption.
Yeah.
What you have to do is to write a letter to the minister and get the support of your professors." I thought, well, I can do that. So I approached my professors one by one, leaving Professor Teos last. So I came to him and I said, by the way, I'm putting in this letter, and every other of my professors has agreed. I hope you can see your way clear to support it.
Politics, huh?
All right.
Oh, wow.
And I got the exemption. Stopped Sanskrit.
Wow.
Went straight on with old Javanese and Javanese.
Right. Okay.
What
What a memory.
epic.
Yeah. So that's a beginning. That's a big chunk of your early journey.
The scholarship was only for 10 months.
Right.
So I'd stopped. I applied for an extension, got one, but it was not nearly enough for 2 people. It wasn't meant for 2. So Rosemary had to get a job.
Right.
And worked in a library in Rotterdam.
Right.
Got on the train early in the morning, went down there.
What's Rosemary's educational background? Did she do?
She did a BA in Sydney at the same time.
Okay. What area?
She did some Indonesian and anthropology.
That was very handy.
But Chinese, not Japanese.
Okay, right.
And
so she got a job there?
She did get a job there, And her support was extremely helpful, much appreciated.
Yeah. Okay.
So I went on year after year, from 1965 right up to 71, when I defended the PhD.
Yeah, so 71 when did your PhD,